So now perfect working time, this is. Everyone's still mostly not awake and it's nice and quiet. Best time of the day. So we're just going to do, we fixed the VA1s. I think I showed that off on the last stream. So they should be, I've got everything plugged in still. These should be fully working. So this is the one ASIC we fixed on the last stream, VA1s and 2s. Let's just double check they still work after sitting overnight. Turns out I've actually got this game as well, but in physical. So let's see. Hopefully everything still works from sitting there. There we go. So this one boots up. We've got audio still. And then we see on the screen, pull the screen up. Zoom out a bit. And then we've got, obviously, the title on here in English. If we flick the speed switch, we'll leave it go slower. The screen will obviously fade out because it doesn't support the slower speed yet. But the 50-60 Hz works. And then if we change it from English to Japanese and reset, you should see that title screen go to the Japanese intro. So all them switches work. So that's all good. The issue was the read and write pin, specifically just on the cartridge, had got back to front because I labelled the trace run wrong. So even though I wired these two right, but they were labelled wrong, when it made its way over to the cartridge connector, the label was correct over here, so it kind of flipped. So we had that issue, and then the schematic showed the address pin 7 wasn't grounded on the 1 ASIC, even though it was on the 2. It turns out the schematic's just wrong, so the AD set, well, the address 7's just been lifted and grounded. So they're like two little issues, but obviously they're figured out. And then I've got an issue with the ribbon, because I wanted to support VA4 and 5 at the same time. I'd shared a pin for VSync and M-Clock, and they were mixing signals together on the clean screen. So for now, I've just cut the top ribbon piece off. But I can obviously, what I'll have to do either is add a switch to toggle between the two modes, which effectively sends the right signal into here, or I can update the ribbon or do something. But that's what I'll figure out today. I'll think about how we're going to handle VA45s without sacrificing a more complex install if we can. So he works all good. A new one. Yeah, newish, so we're going to need him. And then I'm just in the middle, that's what I'm doing now. When I started the stream, I'm just cutting the traces and adding those fix wires first, so that when we come to fit this VA45, we've actually got the fixes first, because they'll still need fixing on this board. So I'm just going to add them bodge wires first. Which, if I remember, is pin 2 and 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I just don't know which way around. I think right was pin 2. I'll check on the other one. Let me just check if the whole TikTok chat thing's working again as well. No, of course not. TikTok's not pulling in the chat. Welcome in, Riley. I have to keep tapping back and forward to TikTok chat because it doesn't show in the main one for some reason. used to work, then it stops working, so it's a little bit of a pain at the minute to keep an eye on it. I'm not doing too bad though. Go away in a few days, so I'm trying to just catch up on work at the minute, get as many hours in as I can. That's pin 2, which was, yeah, the right pin was pin 2. Got a bit warm. Get this door open a minute. I'm surprised more by the amount of people that think it's a surprise that people are working at 7. It's to me, like I said, that's a pretty mild start time. If I wake up early, I can be probably the earliest I'd work is probably 3 o'clock. If I wake up at 2, I'll go back to bed. If I wake up at 3, I'll just get up, get showered, and start work. As long as I don't do that too often, it doesn't affect me the next day or at night. I don't really need that much sleep. But my average start time is usually when the sun's rising. Like now, it's still a little bit black, but the sun's coming out. So I normally wake up around then. So in the summer, when it's like, bright at 4 in the morning, I'm up at 4 in the morning every morning without fail. It's like I just rise to, I guess, the natural body clock of the sun. Florida Doug, thanks. Glad you're in the stream. Emailed you the Nintendo Switch Lite mod. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I sorted you out on that. If not, just hit me back up. I've got quite a few emails at the minute I didn't answer. Yesterday had quite a busy day. Doing an Amiga 1200 that I've been trying to get onto for probably 2 weeks. It's like a maxed out one, so it's have Pi Storm, BIOS upgrades, Gotex external, 3D prints going on, so I just had to stay focused on that yesterday. The Saturns with the full TPLL chips, I had a few. I heard of the issue. I never really researched it too much. But yeah, I had a few where I did confirm it looks like that. The main problem is I never dug deep enough to understand why it's a problem, if you know what I mean. Like, it's, from what I read, people were saying, oh yeah, you can't get the chips, and well, if it's just a clock signal, or it's a derivative of it and it's making a loop, then surely we can replace it fairly easy. So I don't know whether it's one of them semi-urban myths that people, obviously the issue definitely exists because I've seen it, with my own eyes. It is a thing that does fail, but solving the issue, I don't think it's a big deal. But I don't really get that many Saturns in, and to be honest, it's one of the ones I probably know almost the least about. I'm not well versed in Saturns in terms of, I've designed the power board for them. I can fix them, mod them, but in terms of like if this entire system fails, there's that many chips on it. I haven't really looked too much into the whole bring up of the Saturn, so I'd have to learn a bit more to fix it properly, I guess. And that's pretty much the issue. You're seeing black screen as the biggest problem with the Saturns, because basically where you start, if you don't have any further knowledge, which is pretty much where I'm at with it, because like I say, we don't get many in, and the amount of time it'll take me to start from scratch pretty much and investigate how the system, how a working system gets brought up and at what stage do you get what pulses and things like that. There's a lot of hours of dedication to get that far in. Obviously, you could eliminate if it's an AV issue by finding the CXA chip. Normally, most of them are CXA chips, Sony CXAs for video. You could find that, look at the data sheet, find the red, green, and blue ins coming from the VDP or Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's got a VDP on, but basically the video part of the circuit, and you can just probe that with a scope to see if you've got any signals happening, and that's how you'd kind of know if the system's doing something but the video's circuit's damaged. That's pretty much standard for anyone you're trying to work on. If that, you're trying to figure out if it's actually an AV issue, I just go back to source, to whatever chip it is that's generating video signals digitally first. Oh yeah, there's a few. I think mainly as well heat in terms of damaging on video circuits. I always find I've just done it on the Amiga 1200 for that reason. That let me just show you. So this is in the middle of being done, but whenever you see, probably best on the overhead. Whenever you see cans like this, like metal cans, these are usually delay filters. So they're just coils inside that delay signals by 10, 20, 30 milliseconds. And they're normally on composite video. The caps around it do not go anywhere near this with heat, because these do die instantly. And then you'll lose chroma, you'll lose color on your composite. So whenever you see them cans especially, that's something that is very susceptible to heat. If you just said with probes, I think I've got quite a few left there I can give away. So if you can get a refund, I've still got Handtech probes, and might even have picoscopes. I stopped selling them and they're just sitting in the warehouse doing note. So I could quite easily chuck you one in an order, no problem. One with the bodge wires on. I'll fix the other one, and then we've got two boards we can go at. Yeah, I do work from home. I do the repairs from home. We have a unit closed to the public for the online sales, but I do the repairs from home because I've converted an entire room in the house, the one you're seeing now, for the repairs, which unfortunately, even though it contributes to a large portion of the electric bill, you can't claim much for working from home. You can only claim about £50 or something ridiculous when all your expenses when you're working from home should really be accountable, but they're just not. It's also nice because as long as you've got the right focus to make sure you do work when you're home, then it's obviously beneficial. But so many people just can't focus when they work from home. They just keep wandering off and thinking they're at home, or they want to not work. Whereas I've worked for myself since pretty much work age. Like I've worked for other companies on and off, but I've always ran small businesses, effectively sole trader at the start from a very young age, and then obviously larger companies after that. So I've got the discipline to be able to work from home and not think of it like just because I'm at home I don't need to work sort of thing. And there's definitely benefits. It's the first time I've worked from home in a long while. Probably first time I've worked from home in 10 years, I'd say. Fully. I've worked from home with the last businesses, but there was a lot of travel involved. And obviously we had buildings and staff and stuff, so you're going in work, but no, this one is just full time. I don't leave the house when I work now, which is ace. That one on. How can it be wet and cold outside but boiling inside? I'm absolutely boiling. Yeah, thanks for joining in, Doug. I'll catch you on the next one probably. Oh yeah, the same as me then in espresso. Now I'm going to have to put the coffee on in a second. I've got a Red Bull start off with. I couldn't be bothered to make a coffee, but I brought these for like mixers. So watermelon, like having the tequila buzz ball things. I saw a dude on TikTok that I don't even drink really, like almost never drink. It's not something that really interests me unless I was, if I'm going out for have a night out drinking specifically, then I'll drink, but drinking in the house pretty much never do. And then I think it's Johnny Sips on TikTok. Just saw this guy and he's just constantly making tequila buzz balls and they just looked appealing. So I just brought all the tequila stuff and then all the mixers like the Red Bulls, but I've had a few of them and then can't be bothered to do the alcohol thing again, so now I'm just drinking the Red Bulls. I need to put an espresso machine in here and I don't even have to move. I can just press a button over here, get a coffee. Don't even have to leave the stream then. That'd be quite a good idea. What's that on? I'm glad we didn't make a mass production of this one with this problem, because this takes ages to fix the couple of traces that are bad. That's pretty much it for that one. Zoom in and show you the small fixes I've had to do on this. Yeah, this camera, I've changed the overhead for a pocket cinema, and every time I start the stream it's like as if the overhead lags. I have to like deactivate this camera, then reactivate it. It could be also because I know what it is actually. It's because I'm using 4K, so this is now a 4K output, not a 1K, but then expanded so you're cropped in and not losing quality, so that's why the quality's better, but the machine slightly lags, I think, when it's processing 4K. So I might have to downsample it. You don't notice a huge difference because the final output's 1K, but you do notice a bit of a difference on the zoomed in, the maximum zoomed in. So like this one where it crops right in, you notice a difference there, that it's better quality. And the PC is not exactly an underpowered PC. I've got the best thing I've got is I'm just using cam links at the minute, just 4K cam links. But I do have a Blackmagic deck link, I think it's called, and that can handle 4K streams coming in. But the PC has to have like a PCI 16 Gen 3 or 4 or something. Basically, the CPU lanes have to be a certain generation and speed, and it's the same as your graphics card one. So you pretty much got to find a motherboard that has 2 PCIe lanes that are as powerful as the graphics card lane, and that's the hardest thing to find. I'm pretty much going to have to build a specific PC just to support the deck link properly. And then we could get 4K. I mean, we could do 4K streams then, which I think people already say the camera quality is pretty good, but it'd be even better at 4K, as long as the PC can handle it. Morning, welcome in. We're just working on this RePCB again. So we got the other one working yesterday, if you saw yesterday's. The one ASIC for the Game Gear, that they're fully working now. We've just got a few bodge wires we have to do. So the problem was a couple of wrong traces here and here, but then it fully works. So now what we're going to do, we've literally just finished the trace repairs. We're going to try a VA4 and 5. So these ones are, obviously, they look very similar to the 1A6, but you have a resistor pack down here, or you have different layouts. There's multiple different layouts. I've got pretty much all of them in a tub. So let's see if I can find another one. Most of them are that one. there's another one, for example. That's another. That is a VA4, and you can see the difference is you've got a probably video chip. Is that video or RAM? I think that's the work RAM. So you've got a RAM chip here, which you don't have on the normal one ASIC. The telltale sign on this one is you have the resistor pack, and that's I presume that'll be a VA5. Well, yes, that's the VA5. And then there's a load of slight variations on the 4s and 5s, but I do have one of everything. And the ASIC's the same, luckily, I think, so it shouldn't be a problem for us. Yeah, you will have seen me on Homes Under the Hammer. I do houses as well. So we've just literally sold another one, and I've just brought another one as well. So I'll have to find time, go and strip that out and do that up as well. But yeah, it'll be. I was on Homes Under the Hammer probably 3 or 4 times, and they just tend to replay it every few months. On the TikTok chat, I have to come in and out, by the way, as well. So just bear with me on if you say something on TikTok and I don't see. I try to toggle in and out at the minute so I can see it. Oh, you're the one that stole my PS1. I showed it off on stream and said I literally built it for myself before I haven't even listed it for sale yet still. And then you emailed asking if we do it. And I was like, oh, I wanted to say no and keep it for myself, but I've got another one. I've got parts down here. I think I've sold. No, I haven't. I've got parts lying around somewhere. Yeah, I don't even up there. So I've got myself another kit ready to build with everything in. So, but I've got another person after the PS1 as well. So I'll probably end up building a third one. But yeah, they are ace. You just got to play Resident Evil on it. That's the only rule. Right, so what shall we try? I think we'll try I don't know, what do you reckon? A VA5 at the top or a VA4 at the bottom? They both look in. I mean, these are technically all non-working. Oh, here we go. VA45. Only caps. Works great. Smudged screen. So this one's almost a guaranteed worker then. Based on that, it says VA45. So does that say only caps? Can't really tell what it says. A little bit zoomed in there. What do you guys think that says? Something caps, works great, smudge screen, so it's slightly just a screen problem. So I don't know what that's. Not really sure what that word says. The Game Gear, if you're using our rubbers on a Game Gear, grab yourself some original, like stock if you have them, Game Boy original D-pad rubbers. If it's the D-pad that feels spongy, grab the Game Boy original D-pad rubber. It's actually better than ours, but it's got to be the OEM rubber, like a real Game Boy one. The rubbers on them are something I definitely want to try and improve on the Game Gear. The other thing you can do is buy the Pro Pads, which are just little gold tabs that sit inside these 3 buttons and give it a little bit firmer press. Yeah, maybe only caps. Yeah, I think the X stations are maybe taking off. I should do. See, I'm always cautious of doing builds like, obviously I'm not going to do things like switch mods on streams, but even things like X stations or GDMUs or anything showing off technically piracy as such, I probably wouldn't want to stream that, but maybe I could just do the builds and installs and just not show off the screen, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I've literally got a wall of PlayStations, so I don't even need to buy them. I've got that many. I don't know why I'm taking this out of the case. We're not going to be using. Oh, I'm going to be nicking the connector out, so I'll have to. Yeah, we're getting loads of builds with maxed out stuff now. So it's whether it's like coming back in fashion a bit, the desktop side of the consoles, or whether it's a fluctuation, I'm not sure. Oh no, what have you played? Parasite Eve on PlayStation. Did you ever play that as a kid? I forget about that all the time, and it was literally one of my favourite games. I'm going to have to replay that. I just completely forget about it, and then when I remember, I'm like, oh, I used to love that. But quite a lot of people have never even heard or played of it. Where's that other screw there? Might be worth powering this up as well, then let's see if this does work. And then at least we know the ASIC is definitely good. Favourite console to work on? It varies a lot. I think, like I say, the Xbox original's fun when you're maxing them out. Game gears I rarely do, but because we're starting streaming stuff, I've started doing more. I do kind of enjoy the simplicity of the handhelds, but I think it'd get a bit boring for me if this was all I was doing, because they're very simple for me. Like, they're challenging in one way, like you're figuring out how to repair, but they're not very challenging. There's not many things you know on the board. You can always figure it out. And the PlayStation 1, with just starting that, I've quite liked doing that, surprisingly. Right, that's I should eventually do something about, I don't know whether I should do something about this, but the connectors obviously we use for the power cores and clean juices. The VA45s have these green ones that are tighter and back to front, but we sell these ribbons now and the RePCB. I'm not sure how much I care to make a new connector just for, you know, editing these boards and putting two connectors on. I don't think it's worth it. Just recommend people with VA45s use a RePCB or swap the power ribbons. Right, let's see if this does actually work then. Probably best a game with audio so we can hear. Let's get our Sonic. We need a power board. Audio board, rather. Well, actually, I'm not even going to bother with audio board for now. Let's just see if booting this up shows something on screen. I should be able to block that stream boo thing as well, because everyone, the only chat spam we seem to have had, yeah, I can see Sonic on there. The only spam we seem to get always says the same thing, stream boo or something. So yeah, there's the Sega, there's Sonic. So it's a working ASIC. There's the contrast wheel. That's just the polarizer on the screen damaged. So we know that this ASIC's good. So we don't have to question that when we swap it now, which is good. So let's get this one onto a board. Let's probably get this connector off first. Sit that there. And I've found the best way to get these off now is just hot air, max temperature, max speed. Should be able to get this in focus a bit more. Oh, my little autofocus setup now. There we go. So max speed, max temp, and just as close as possible. And this takes about 30 seconds and just comes out. Ooh, there's a new Parasite Eve coming out. What's that called? I'll definitely be getting that. Mega drives I don't work on much. I used to get them in quite a bit, mainly like video RAM issues, but again, it's a good console as well for playing like Sonic on and stuff, so I should probably list them. I still don't have tons of the consoles listed on the website. Like in the ready-made section, we still don't have many consoles because just the time, we're always doing the repairs or the sending, so getting the time to sit down and list a new console, it's just something we're lacking in. Yeah, definitely send them to me for the PlayStation. I'll try and get the PlayStation listed today, and I'll put like the X station on and stuff. So there we go, that's that out. What now? Chip off. And then I do need to make the, I really need to make the USB clean power for the PlayStation 1. The design I've done for the Sega Saturn and Dreamcast now is a universal, crazy powerful buck circuit that uses USB-C and then a buck regulator, so it can handle over 100 watt. It's like ridiculously powerful, so I can use that exact same design and just relay it out with the right voltages and positions and sizes for other consoles. So I don't even need to really design something for the PlayStation 1 other than physically just, you know, making the kit fit inside. But yeah, if I start seeing a few more sales of the PS1, I'll probably bump that up as a high priority to make a USB-C PlayStation 1 power board. How do you remember where the screws go? You leave a few out when you build it back up. You've always got to make sure you've got a few left over. But other than that, you get used to certain consoles. If you're working on them enough, you'll just remember. Like on the Game Gear. Oh no! I've done the classic drop the ASIC. Have we bent legs? Yeah, I've bent a ton of legs again. I'm good at that. These ones seem slippier than the others. If you work on certain consoles enough, then they're easy to remember, whereas certain ones like the Amiga I've been working on, you won't necessarily remember, because if you're just not working on them enough, then you forget. Right, let's see if I can straighten out my mess. Let me zoom in, focus. There we go. So I knocked this corner here, but I've bent it mostly back into position. But the problem with these is they're that fine pitch that I think if they're not in the right position, we're going to have issues. It's also quite sticky with flux, so maybe clean the flux off first. Nomads, just they're not popular enough. I've made buttons for them. So I've made actual reproduction buttons. I've got the 3D model for the entire shell I've made, but the shells, like making molds like the Game Gear molds, they cost like 10 to 20,000, and then you've got to make 1,000 of a shell per colour. So I'd have to make 1,000 Nomad shells, and I think we've sold about, well, we've only worked on or repaired about bloody 4 or 5 in 4 years. They're just not popular enough to justify working on, unfortunately. I might make a clean screen for it, because that's not, if I can make it universal enough that I can reuse the board on another console, it's not a major issue. Right, that's not too bad. I think if we see some of these legs damaged when it's on the chip, I'll just use the scope, warm up and nudge the pins into position. I think that's close enough, but yeah, that's like 2 out of the 4 single ASIC boards. When I pick them up, I just drop them and bend the pins. I should stop. I'll pick them up and then I want to like look at them, and it's when I'm twisting them, I'm dropping them. I should really try and stop doing that. And yet I don't drop a single 2 ASIC. It's something about these 1 ASIC chips. They seem to be, I don't know, slippy. Early start, yeah, it's not too bad. It's pretty average for me. N64 clean power, yeah, it's really easy. And that you can work on, like we could do an outside, I could make basically a mold, so it just plugs in the outside without even opening the console, and then there's a USB port. I think that's probably the solution I'd go for. That's just probably going to be like $4,000 to make the mold, and then make the circuit board inside. It won't be that bad. Just positioning this one under the scope first. That doesn't look too bad. And now if we look at above, try to drag that into frame. And then zoom in. We can see that it's nice and aligned, so that's not bad. And you can zoom in a bit closer, so that ignoring the shorts on the pins, we'll sort things like shorts out after. It's just mainly the position we're after being good. We'll try and flow this in now. Yeah, you can use a clean amp universal, or probably even, I think people have used the clean amp for the Game Gear. So they're all audio amps. You just got to find the right points basically, and physically fit it inside. But we sell something called the clean amp universal that will be probably in the Game Boy Original, Game Boy Advanced, Game Boy Color sections of the mods part of the website. So you go to the retro6.co.uk, then mods and kits, go to Game Boy Original, and you should see something, a little rectangle board saying Game Boy Clean Amp Universal. And basically you've got 2 inputs. If you needed it, you only need 1. But it depends if the Nomad outputs left and right channels. It'll mix to 1 speaker, but you follow the same install guide as the Game Boys. Ground is ground. Where it goes to power is power. The audio input should have to find on the Nomad where the signals come from and the speaker goes to. But basically, if you jumped on the Discord, we could always help you. And I can give you I can give you the pin out of where all the wiring goes. Like what the pins of the actual clean amp universal are basically. Yeah, I might pull these pins in slightly on the production. I think they're slightly too far away from the pins, so it's like skipping away. It does good for pulling in, but it's also slightly out. So let me just go under the scope a second before I push this down. I want to make sure this is nice and in line. Yeah, that's perfectly aligned. So it does really good for forcefully aligning these pins, but like how it blows off is probably just because there's not quite enough solder pad underneath the pins. And getting shorts off these pins is so easy. This footprint works so good for just tapping on and removing shorts. He says, and then they get stuck trying to get one off. Oh, that's because that's a ground, but I'm trying to get it's the bottom left pin, isn't it, that's joined. That's why I can't get the bridge off, because it's technically joined underneath. Yeah, these are super. Again, I don't know why I do this bit under the scope, because it's so easy to do. Might as well show you under here. So I'm just going along finding the bridges. So like here, say the bridges on here, just literally tap on and just go. Tap on, go on, and clean the iron, because you start getting excess solder on, and they just wipe off. So those long pads, I'm gonna keep the length of them pads. They literally make it perfect for effectively wicking off. Wow, the lag on this camera's crazy. I'm trying to solder looking at the screen, and my hand moves about half a second after I've moved it. That's trippy. So there's actually added lag on the 4K as well. And then these top ones, same thing. You can make sure you got flux, like fresh flux. I've got quite a bit of solder on my iron though, but it should still pull off, see? And then I think there's one. Is that one there? Oh, no, I've added one though. There we go, that's that one. And I think that's all good. So let me check under the scope, clean it up a minute. And this will be a short, and so I'm going to go for a coffee in a minute before everybody else goes. So go for an early one, and then I'll jump back on. So I'll probably just chuck this on, check if we get sound, and then I'll go for a drink and jump back on, as soon as I'm back, maybe. goes that high up, you have to look under the edge. Right, so this corner, got a few. This is probably the corner I bashed when I dropped it. Yeah, so just a couple of them pins in that corner where I dropped it are slightly bent, so I'll just bend these back in. I might not even need to bend them, but they'll need pushing down because they're lifted off the board as well. Yeah, so the key on these working is definitely making sure these pins are in the right. Like, you don't want any bend on these pins because it makes the soldering much more difficult. That's one pin left to try and get on. Yeah, so I'd say before fitting these, definitely focus on making sure the pins are well aligned. That's would have been a lot easier to do this before putting it down if I'd have known it was going to be this painfully accurate. There we go. Just check the pin's flatness, and I think we're good to go. Battery mods for what console? Different speaker. You may or may not. Some original speakers are loud enough. If you need another speaker, we've got the Game Gear speaker we sell separate that will probably be more than adequate enough. If not, you can just go online and find a half to 1 amp, a half to 1 watt speaker. Anything between, half a watt and a watt's going to be loud enough. But just try the original first. It'll just sound tinny and like overdriven if it's not powerful enough. But I'd just try it out basically. Yep, catch you in a bit. I'll be like I say, jumping off to grab a coffee shortly anyway, and then coming back on after. I just want to get this chip down. So now, to be honest, we're going to see if it's actually going to work. Chuck a crystal on. And then we should be good to see if it boots. I think that's all we have to do. Let's go to the overhead. This crystal. And then that is, can't quite see. Yeah, that's the right way. Like I say, this isn't actually a specific way around. I just like to make sure I do that in case in future you're ever installing oscillators that are polarized one way, and you have to make sure you install them the correct way. So it's always good practice to think about putting crystals on the right orientation. Otherwise you get in the habit of not caring, and then I've done it on a clean screen, the GBA clean screen, where the crystal ended up the wrong way around because I was just that used to putting on, sorry, the oscillator ended up the wrong way around because I was that used to just installing crystals any which way. Heat on these chips, don't even worry about it. Max temperature, max speed, you're going to get the chip off fine. The chip will practically fall off the board before you've overheated it, so I really wouldn't worry about the heat. Right, so this is hopefully going to give us audio. Be nice if it did. I can't see why not, but you never know. What do we reckon? Are we going to get audio only? Because that's all we're going to get. Give it a second for it to cool down, actually. And then after, I'll have to figure out how we wire this board up. I'll have to look at the schematics, and I know I obviously designed it to work with the VA45, but I can't remember what it is I actually did on the wiring side. I'm trying to get it so that we can use just ribbons straight in, and I'm not sure whether this current clean screen 3 will support it, or whether I need to, whether I've made it ready for the V4. I can't remember. And let's go for it. Oh, not looking good. Now, oh, there you go. It's done it again on me. Makes me wait and think it's not working. So that's a VA45 working. That's the slow. That's the fast. So that's working as well. So it does look like we have a board that you can just chuck on the VA45 or the VA1 and 2. So it basically supports every single version of one chip. Yep, solid connection. So that was a much easier job than the first one. Now we know what the problems were. So I think I will, like I say, I'll jump off, go for a drink, and then when we're back, we'll try and get the clean screen working on this. I'll have to go program one for VA45, take a quick look at the schematic on this ribbon connector, because we will have to, I think we might just have to cut one trace like we did on the other one, and then when I come to revise this board for mass production, I'll put a little toggle switch so you can slide between the two if we need to. But hopefully this will also work on the screen, and then I can get straight into production with this. And this will be fully supported wire-free install for every one ASIC. The main thing is, like I say, make sure these pins are aligned, because that was a nightmare down there. I don't think you saw, but these pins down here, where I dropped the chip. Let me zoom in and focus. So you can see these few pins here where it bent. I've had to kind of warm up with solder while they're joined together, because these two were bridged. So you have to kind of get your tweezers between there, try and get your iron underneath there, and move the pins. It's quite a pain to do. So normally the pitch of the pins is a bit more spaced, so you can easily just get a tweezer in and nudge it, whereas these are very fine pitch. So I'd say the only takeaway when installing these, the 1A6, is definitely make sure your pins are nice and straight and aligned, and don't drop them every 2 minutes like I keep doing. Hey, welcome into the TikTok. Oh yeah, the SNES controllers. I think we don't have many left. I've got one. Got one up here actually. In fact, is that 2? We've got a few versions. So I did one originally with an STM chip, I think, and then another one with the Plus. That's then you can use USB cable and use it on PC, Switch, GameCube, SNES, so you can use them on all of the ones, and they've got LEDs built in behind. But to be honest, I wasn't going to remake them, funnily enough. They went crazy, sold loads, and then just sort of stopped selling. But I made this mold, so it's exactly the same as the SNES controller, but with our little logo. And this was meant to be a collaboration between us and Handheld Legends, but we've kind of gone our separate ways anyway now. So they've got the rights to produce this controller as well. But I do plan to probably make another one and do it for another console. Maybe it was almost like wanting a universal controller for every console, but I don't think that works. I think my original idea of just making this specific to one, maybe specific to one system like a SNES, but then making the general wireless just work. Like, going to PCs, Switches, all stuff like that's fine. But we made a cable here that connects to all the other consoles, like N64s, GameCubes. I don't think that really makes sense, because who wants to use that on a GameCube or an N64? the idea, just because it could, didn't really make sense. But yeah, I love this controller, and it sold like crazy when I first did it. But then I tend to not advertise. That's the problem. I always say I design something, invent something, and just forget to talk about it. So it just sits on a shelf. But yeah, if you want one of them, I'd buy one. If you want to see something different, or you're interested in controllers, I can certainly focus on some controller builds. But at the minute, I've got quite a bit, to be honest, of like clean power builds to do, I think, before controllers. Right, guys, I'm just going to pop off for a drink, and then we'll come back and get this wired up, hopefully, for a screen output. I've also added at the top of the stream now, you can actually see who's donated to Rusty. So we've had a donation last night, £14, so we can definitely get some treats for that. And then I'll reset this donation for the next stream. It's nice to see people supporting. It's like I don't make any money off social whatsoever, so doing the streams and seeing people actually give a little bit really helps, because obviously it takes a bit longer to do my work and explain and show it off than it does if I'm not on camera. But I also enjoy doing it. It's quite enjoyable to work through something and talk to people versus working on your own. So the fact it's also bringing in a bit of coffee money and treat money is ace. So again, thanks for that, guys, and I'll see you in probably an hour or two, probably just an hour, to be honest.